I gotta change that countdown. Hey, everybody. What's up? I am ready to drop some gems today. I am ready. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining. For those of you who are watching now, I appreciate you. For those who will watch later, I love y'all too. Please don't forget to like the video. Okay, subscribe to my channel so you'll know when I go live because I plan to go live every Sunday, but y'all know how it be. Y'all know how life be life, and so I'm not going don't hold me to it, but I'm definitely planning on going live. But as you can see, I've been trying to post videos and snippets. Don't forget to follow me on TikTok because I also talk about things that are not like pop culture, maybe stuff that's going viral. And I give my little take on that as well. So please, please, please do not forget to subscribe to my channel. I know I'm getting back started. I appreciate everybody so much for your support. I've had so much support, just coming back. And so I'm really looking forward to just kind of getting into the topics that I have going on for tonight. I really want to talk about Jalen Green because there's some stuff y'all didn't tell me, and I'm really kind of like I'm about to get into it. But y'all, it was some stuff y'all didn't tell me last time about Jalen Green and this Drea situation. Okay. I'm also going to talk about Love and Marriage DC. There was a scene where I want to, talk about it, and you do not have to watch Love and Marriage DC to follow me and understand what I'm going to be talking about. Okay. Because I'm going to spin it into some real life marriage situations. And then I want to briefly get into the Nickelodeon thing because that Nickelodeon special has gotten everybody in a little frenzy. Okay. So I want to give my take on that situation. So let me get started and I want to jump right in. I want to talk about kind of the format of my show because every week I'm going to have three hot topics that I'm going to talk about. And these are to me the topics that stand out for that week. So what I pick is like the hottest of the hot. Okay. These are the topics that need to get delved into a little bit more. So I will identify three hot topics every week that I want to talk about. But please feel free to hit me up and be like, Tawana, can you talk about this? I may do a pre-recorded video about it. It may not it might not make my top three list, but it's definitely, room for me to expand that and talk about other issues. Okay. Um, but let's get into Jalen Green. Okay. Because I talked about this situation last week and Andrea and how she's pregnant with his child. And Drea Michelle is 39, he's 22. And so, of course, everyone was just calling her a predator and talking about that situation in depth. And that was just taking over the internet. It was taking over sports news. It was taking over everything because people were extremely concerned about Drea dating him at his age because people felt that she was taking advantage of him. And I mentioned that she likes the dudes with the twos. Okay. So whether y'all want to accept it or not, she likes the dude with the two numbers. And it's a lot of women who do it. Okay. I don't think that it's necessarily a predatory thing. I think it's more so just because she is secure in the bag. Okay. And I'm just going to put it out there. However, according to an article on with it's HNHH, which is kind of a hip hop news article. Go ahead and look it up. It's HNHH. The young star is alleged to have three children on the way. A stripper is claiming to be due in May alongside Drea Michelle. Houston Rockets player is 22 years old. Recently, an unnamed model came forward to claim that she was impregnated by Green as well. Though the remains, though this remains unconfirmed, her child was born in February. So this man is alleged to have three children on the way, all the same age. And I'm not going to even say what we used to call this, but this is exactly what we used to call it back in the day, especially in Chicago. I don't know what y'all call it. But when you got three kids all the same age, those are twins. And the twins are from different women. And we called it something, okay? Because this is something that is a part of culture and it's a part of something that, we referenced in the past, and I can't say it. Unfortunately, I can't. But this is the man that y'all claim is too good for Drea. Like, he out here populating the earth like he future. It's embarrassing if it's true. He is a young athlete in his prime, about to be one of the breakout stars for the Houston Rockets or just the NBA in general. And he's out here getting all these women pregnant and having seemingly unprotected, and I don't want to say the word, with women, and to the point where they can claim that they are pregnant by him. How is he too good for Drea? I'm just trying to figure this out, y'all, because everybody keeps saying how Drea preyed on him. He seems like he's out here in these streets and he know what he doing. If any of this is true, I don't want to hear another word about Drea. Let that girl have her baby in peace and leave her the hell alone. Because I was on here going in on Drea because she 39 and he's 22. And now I realize that he out here like he done lost his dang on mind. So no, I'm not gonna let y'all play me no more. Okay. Y'all should have told me that Jalen was out here with three women claiming that they all pregnant by him. Now, I guess the one who was born in February hasn't yet got a paternity test. So we will be following this story to see if he has three children all the same age. And if that is true, I got some more commentary on this situation because this, you guys, is just kind of breaking news. This is ridiculous. I had no idea that Jalen was out here doing all of that. And if I'd known that when I reported on him and Drea last week, I definitely would have mentioned that. Now, yes, she out here dating the men with the twos. She want to date athletes and she got a reputation for dating athletes, but he is out here impregnating strippers and models, whatever the hell that means. Because, you know, models it's used loosely, especially on Instagram. Everybody is a model. So take that with a grain of salt. Any thoughts on that situation? I just like, yeah. Hey, Chaos, how are you? Thank you. Welcome, welcome, Chaos. Any thoughts on that? Yes, I mean that's ridiculous, y'all. I can't even believe Jalen. So it was kind of disappointing to hear that. I'm like, see, I told y'all it was his parents. Because your parents is supposed to teach you that foundational stuff. And honestly, if your parents is telling you like not to get involved in certain things and kind of showing you the right way to treat women, the right way to, raise a family, you're not going to be making those types of mistakes. That's what I'm saying. So Jalen is out here just acting like he ain't never had a role model in his life. So I'll be curious about his background and how he was raised and what he witnessed because he is reckless. And y'all can say whatever y'all want to say. I would love to hear y'all feedback on that. But I'm going to move on from that situation. But I'm telling you right now that he is not too good for Drea. It seems like he met somebody that's right on his level. Oh, y'all done got me all riled up about that Jalen Green situation in Drea. He is, listen. Now let me move on to the next topic before I get into the main event because I honestly cannot wait to talk about this last topic. But Love and Marriage DC. If you have not watched it, Love and Marriage DC comes on OWN. It is one of those shows that come on Saturday, but it comes on weekly. There's been 4 seasons, I think, so far. If you have not watched it, go back and watch it. It's something you can binge. It's a really good show. Um, but I'm just gonna break down this situation that I want to get into and talk about a little bit more. Um, there's this scenario where there's 2 friends, Ashley and Joy. Both of them are married. Okay, so both of them are married, their wives, they've been friends. And when this season started, you can see that there's a division between the two. And the division occurred because Ashley revealed a very big secret between Joy and her husband, Clifton. And so Joy was upset that Ashley put that secret out, and now they're no longer as close as they were, if that makes sense. They weren't best friends, but they had a budding friendship. And if you know Ashley, Ashley's kind of hesitant about calling people her friend anyway. But she even admitted that they were kind of close and they liked each other and they were getting, they were getting to the point where their friendship was developing. However, Ashley decides to out that the fact that Joy and Clifton are legally married and they were already married. And Joy came on the show saying, "Oh, me and Clifton are getting married," and she really didn't reveal the fact that they were already legally married. And for a few reasons, I think Joy said that her family didn't know that they were married. So she really didn't want to put that out there. But why would you tell a cast member? Because if you tell a cast member, then you cannot guarantee that it's not going to be repeated. If you want something to remain a secret, keep it between you and your husband, and you guys tell your own story. So Joy is mad at Ashley, but obviously to me, I feel like that's on you and Clifton. You guys should have never revealed that information. But be that as it may, she told Ashley about it. Ashley put the secret out. And so now Ashley's been on this apology tour, and Joy's not really receptive to the apology. So there's a little division, conflict between them. Now the husbands have inserted themselves into the drama. And this is the reason why I'm discussing this situation is because now that the husbands are involved, it's kind of escalated a little bit. And so Ashley was at an event and she is kind of speaking about the drama. And Clifton got involved and now they're having a back and forth. And Clifton kind of leaned in like this. Now he leaned in as they were talking. And if you're from the hood, you already know what that means. When somebody lean into you, that's kind of like, let's square up. That's the fighting words, right? So you don't lean into somebody when they talking. However, he didn't it didn't seem aggressive, but also I could see on the other side, on the flip side, how Ashley could have taken that as an aggressive move, right? Like a man just leaning into you while you talking and he's like leaning in and he's talking, right? Um he wasn't very aggressive. They were both going back and forth, both going throwing jabs. However, of course, Ashley went back and told her husband. So now her husband got a problem, right? Because he's like, "Why are you going back and forth with my wife? Why would you lean into my wife? You trying to intimidate her? What's going on with that?" So long story short, I think Joy and Ashley are going to try to mend their friendship. But it ends with Ashley calling Joy's husband a mean girl. And just let that sit like a woman is calling your husband a mean girl. And I just think that's so disrespectful. And there was another show where the woman repeatedly, I think it was actually Love and Marriage Huntsville, where the woman repeatedly called the husband bitch, like called him out of his name repeatedly. And I'm like, these women have gotten out of control where they feel like they can call somebody's husband a name that's derogatory, number one, but it's misgendering them, right? Because he's clearly not a woman. And so why would you call him a mean girl? And I mean, I think she kind of cleaned it up and was like, well, he's acting like a mean girl. No, honestly, that's disrespectful. And to me, that kind of crosses the line. So I guess I'm curious at what y'all think. Is that going to, again, ruin their friendship or their budding relationship? Because if someone calls my husband a mean girl, a B, we can't be friends no more. Like, I'm just, we can't be friends no more. It's just not going to happen. So I'm just trying to figure out why she thought that was okay, and why are we now getting into this mindset where women feel like they can disrespect other people's spouses, or anybody feels like they can disrespect somebody's spouse, because anytime you talk crazy to somebody's spouse, that is grounds for there to be some kind of confrontation. So I guess my question to you guys, and of course you can write it in the comments or the chat, just tell me, like, what do you think about that boundary of a friend calling your spouse a name? Even if you feel that the back and forth or conflict is valid, like there's a reason for the other side to be mad at you, do you feel that it's okay for your friend to call your spouse a name that is derogatory? The B word, misgendering them, calling them something else, like to be derogatory, right? Because you're not calling them another name for no reason. So I guess, I'm just trying to understand what Ashley's motive is in this situation. And I don't really feel like she's trying to resolve the issue, because if you're trying to resolve the issue, then you wouldn't have doubled down on that comment, right? You would have just kind of let that go. Chaos said, damn, you really protect Andrea. So here's the thing, Chaos, and I'm glad you said that. And this is going back to the Jalen Green and Drea situation. I'm not protecting Drea. By no means and am I saying that I'm protecting Drea. I have a son, and if he was dating a woman that much older than him, I would clearly have a problem with it as well. So there's absolutely nothing in me protecting her. But what I'm saying is Jalen is out here with 3 baby mamas, out here populating the planet like he ain't, and I don't wanna say what I wanna say, but he's acting like he's still on the plantation. Like, what are you doing? Why are you out here sleeping with everyone you know without protection and possibly impregnating these women? To the point where these women are coming out like, yeah, I'm pregnant and I'm set to have his child. They're literally set to have his child the same day that Drea is due. So, no, no, sir, I am not supporting Drea by any means, but I'm also calling out the hypocrisy in people saying that, oh, Jalen's young and he's just out here sowing his royal oats, and of course he gonna be sleeping with all these different women and all that. Nobody's calling out his problematic behavior, because you can have uh you can have sex with many women without impregnating all of them. And so nobody's taught him how to be, I guess, careful, and nobody's holding him accountable for that. So that's my only point to that situation, is nobody's really holding him accountable. Everybody's making excuses for his behavior. And so if we're gonna call out Drea, y'all better call Jalen Green out. And I've saw people in comments on several sites making excuses for Jalen. Oh, well, he's young, and it's to be expected that he's gonna be, having a lot of women come after him, and he's gonna be, out here having fun and enjoying himself. Yeah, but that doesn't mean that he has to have three potential children in the same year. That is reckless. That is not just having fun. That is not like that man needs to be controlled and he needs to be told like you're out here, you need to relax. That's all I'm saying. And you tell me, Chaos, what you think. Hey, Freezy. Thank you for supporting me. I appreciate it. I appreciate you coming through, Freezy. Yes. Do not listen. Freezy said, I'm still a mod. Yes. Oh my God. Of course, Freezy. I'm not taking your wrench away. I am not taking your wrench away. Yes. I need moderators sometimes because people, you know how people are. They be coming for Tawana G, coming for me. We got to kick them out because I don't play that. Right. If you comment on my show, you can stay. But if you trying to come in here and talk about anything else, you can go ahead and get up out of there. Um, Chaos, I would like to see the name of these ladies, then some clickbait. I might go along with that. Okay. That's fair. That is fair because I will say this about people who are famous and in the NBA, those athletes, they get a lot of false complaints against them. They get a lot of people putting out false news, gossip, and things like that. So you're right. Maybe we shouldn't jump to conclusions. Multiple articles wrote about this, multiple news sources wrote about these potential children that he have. And I think there's been claims from a model. And of course, when I say model, I mean like IG model. And then there was a stripper who also claimed to be pregnant by him. Now, of course, he need to get the test. But even the fact that that is a possibility that you could possibly be a father to these children, Jalen, he out here now. He definitely need to put it in, zip it up, put it in his pants, okay? Because that's ridiculous. And yeah, I mean, that's all I'm gonna say about that. I just want to say that yeah, last week I talked about Drea and I got on her. Well, not even knowing that Jalen had all this going on. Okay. If I'd have known that, listen, I would have I'd have took it a little easier on Drea. Because yes, I do feel like that she does, attach herself to these athletes. And the athletes kind of fall for women like that all the time. So really, they need some people in their lives telling them that there's women out here who's going to target them and want to be with them because of their lifestyle, because of the money they make, and they're going to trap them or try to trap them. And so these men need to be kind of cautious of that and learn how to vet women. But it seems like Jalen is not very good at vetting. He's just out here doing the most. So yeah, if y'all gonna talk about Drea, y'all better talk about him. 22 or not, this is ridiculous. We were all 22, okay? Did you have three children on your way at the same dang on time? No. So stop saying, "Oh, he's 22," and no. There's a lot of 22-year-old men who make responsible choices. Jalen can do that as well. That's all I'm saying, y'all. That's all I'm saying. We make excuses and we need to hold people accountable. Now, Nickelodeon. God, is Nickelodeon going too far, y'all? Like, so let me just start off by saying there is a docu-series called Quiet on Set. Okay, it is being aired on ID investigation. However, it's also on HBO Max, and I have Hulu, and I'm watching it on Hulu. So, if you just put in "Quiet on Set," it comes up. And the docu series are ex Nickelodeon child stars that allege abuse and a toxic culture. And so it's a four-part docu-series and it details allegations tied to Dan Snyder. We all know Dan Snyder because he acted in most of these shows. Um, he made a lot of hit programs, The Amanda Show, iCarly, Drake and Josh, all that, which is what I watch when I watch Nickelodeon. He's made a ton of hit shows for Nickelodeon. The docu-series reveals SA that was suffered by the child stars from the 1990s into the early 2000s. And it was a lot of misogyny, racism, and there was adults charged in a lot of these cases. So in 2018, Dan seemingly separated from Nickelodeon after there was a complaint that was brought by Jeanette McCurdy. And if you know her, she was a star on iCarly, and she also had a spinoff called Sam and Cat. And apparently, she launched a complaint against Dan Snyder, and the complaint was investigated. They did not find SA. However, they did find that he was creating a toxic culture. They decided to separate, and she kind of launched this whole thing. And she also have her own um biography where she writes about her experience on Nickelodeon. However, um this documentary exposed a lot about this culture of Nickelodeon and the child stars. The documentary is not the first to question Snyder and his closeness with the young cast members. There were some allegations that him and Amanda Bynes were having a very odd, strange, close relationship. She was a very young star, I think 13 when she started, and Dan Snyder had a extremely close relationship with her, according to the cast. And this is all alleged, obviously. However, there's a scene that aired on Nickelodeon back then. I guess no one questioned it, but now people are looking at it with different eyes. Where Amanda Bynes and Dan Snyder are in a hot tub jacuzzi. She's in a bikini, and he's kind of in his clothes. It's just a very weird scene. Um, and then there is some clips of Ariana Grande going around from when she was on Nickelodeon, and they are extremely strange as well. It just presents as if there's some fetishes involved in some of the writing, and some of the compromising situations that they put the child stars in. It seems that they were using them to push this whole agenda, right? And I'm trying to avoid saying the S word, but you get what I'm saying. They were using the child stars to do that. Um, the docu-series have one episode that really shocked everyone. And it's the episode where Drake, and he's the child star from the Amanda Show, but he also was like one of the stars on Drake and Josh show. He identified himself as a victim of Brian Peck. Now, he was a dialogue coach convicted of SA and sentenced to 16 months in prison. Now, he was one of the three from Nickelodeon that was sentenced that went to prison. There was a production assistant who essayed two girls. And then there was a third employee who went to prison for almost 7 years in 2009, essay of a teenager in the studio. So just imagine how toxic that environment must have been, where the men felt so comfortable um doing this on set. That brings a lot of concerns for me, because there were parents around, allegedly there were a lot of adults around, and so for the fact that these men felt comfortable doing these types of things on set while people are watching told a very crazy story to me. Now, according to the documentary, Dan was a nightmare to work with. He was asking a lot of the women who were writers to massage him, and he was actually making them blurt out very embarrassing words. in meetings, and he was just very vulgar from what I understand about him in the docu-series. This is what they alleged. And Dan has then since come out and put his own story out, of course. And he's not denied the allegations, but apologized, but then I guess went on to explain his side of some of the allegations that came out. And he blamed the execs, right? Not blamed the execs, but he mentioned that he was not in full and total control, that he had a team of execs that he reported to, that were bicoastal, and they came into a room and reviewed his, I guess, suggestions, and they provided feedback and approved everything that went out, all the material, everything that aired on Nickelodeon was to reportedly by Dan Snyder, approved by the executive team. So I guess I'm thinking in my head, why is it that there's always this one person that is seemingly the head of the operation, but then there's the people in the background who kind of escape the criticism, right? So Nickelodeon put Dan Snyder as the face of this, right? But there's a ton of execs that approve this material to come out. All of this that's happening on site, they have received numerous complaints that they've covered up. And Jeanette McCurdy also mentioned that Nickelodeon tried to pay her off, so that she herself would not out them. And so I guess the question is, why are we supporting these networks? That we know they blur the line and they are exposing our young children, right, to content that we would not approve, right? Because it's always hidden in in the episodes. And I know us parents, we're not watching every episode our children are watching. Um, but we don't understand the gravity of what people will do for fame, and a lot of the parents were apparently there, watching these episodes, understanding what's happening, understanding the situations that their children were in, but I guess not understanding how to advocate for their children without getting their children kicked off set, without, ruining the relationship with Nickelodeon. And the parents seem to be kind of not knowing how to advocate for their children and how to stop this from happening. I guess part of my thing with that is, what will people do for fame, right? Um, how far people will go just to be famous, and the types of things that happen on set anywhere, even with Nickelodeon. Disney has had complaints as well. These are the things that we kind of consistently see happening with child stars, and how child stars are heavily affected by the way they're treated on set. Um, and so it's kind of on us to determine why we continue to support these institutions, why we continue to back these institutions, why we let our children watch these things, and why haven't these execs and even why haven't Nickelodeon been shut down? Just the numerous complaints that's happened over the years. The fact that there were three known SA abusers on site at Nickelodeon that were convicted and served time, and we are still watching Nickelodeon to this day. Like, there is still so many people supporting Nickelodeon, knowing that these are the types of things, the suggestive material that they put out, the way they influence our children, the way they influence the youth. What are we going to do? And I think that it just bothered me because, me personally, I do not like when people target vulnerable people and populations of people. Um, People who are they know that they can manipulate and use to their advantage. And these kids, of course, they want to be on TV, they want to be famous, they want to be part of Nickelodeon, which is one of the top stations at that time, right, for kids. And of course, tell me the Nickelodeon shows y'all watch. I know y'all watched the Nickelodeon shows because I did. I watched all that. I don't know if I've ever seen like iCarly, Drake and Josh. I think I was kind of too old for that. But I definitely watched all that and some of the other shows with Dan Snyder back then. And I can't even think of all his shows, but like he was a part of a lot of the shows that I watched. And it's something about people who they put in powerful positions that feel that they can use that power to their advantage and they use it in a negative way. Um, because Dan Snyder knew how powerful he was, right? Even though it went through an executive team and material was approved by them as well, he had a lot of say in the direction of the show. He had a lot of say in what could air, who would be a star, who wouldn't be a star. He would fire people who went against him. And it was really no room to go back and forth with him, according to a lot of the cast and a lot of the writers and employees that were there. Um, but what is this sick fascination with abusing? And I don't want to say because obviously I don't want, but the young, right? Hurting children. They just want to hurt children and they want to abuse children. So they get in these roles where they're vulnerable, where they want something so badly that they're willing to let a lot of things slide. And the parents, unfortunately, don't pay attention to signs that clearly indicate that their child is in danger. Um, what was the show with the green slime? That was Nickelodeon. That was Nickelodeon, Freezy. That is the show where and they did a lot of weird stuff on there that now I'm thinking about it, I'm like, "Yeah, that was weird." Like the whole pickle thing, they had a whole bunch of pickles and they would always be putting the pickles in their mouth and doing all this stuff. That was very inappropriate for kids. And then there's these scenes with Ariana Grande where she's taking water and she's splashing it all over her face and she's being very like suggestive in those scenes. Um, there's scenes where Dan clearly has a fetish with feet. He has ketchup on feet and people are doing weird things that I think a lot of the kids who were the child stars reported that they were very uncomfortable with. Um, but I guess they just they did it because they wanted to be famous. So what's the price of fame? Like, is fame worth all of that? And so I know a lot of the people who we idolize and we look up to, a lot of the famous people, I just wonder what did they have to do to get there? Because when you hear these backstories and these horror stories about what people go through in behind the scenes, it really makes me look at fame very differently. And now I'm wondering if it's an institution that we should even support because even Taraji talked about how Black actors are underpaid and there's just so many things that happen behind the scene. And we're all consuming all of this. But meanwhile, in the background, they're suffering and we're supporting this entire institution and machine. And it's our money that keeps it going. So I think if you have not watched that Nickelodeon special, you have to watch it. And I really would like to hear your opinion about it. Please, please comment. Watch the 4 parts. And I even watched just the last 2 parts, and it was very damaging and very telling. Now Drake Bell, who was one of the child stars, he's went on to get into so much stuff, right? Of course, after he went through all of the things that he went through with that Brian Peck, he had a terrible life, a very difficult life. And I think that what one of the key points that I picked up from that was Drake Bell's father was noticed that this behavior was very odd between his son and the abuser, right? And he started to question what's going on here because the man exhibited behavior that was concerning to a parent. And because the father said something, they devised this plan to get the father kicked off the set of Nickelodeon. So now the father's not there to protect his son, right? So that leaves him vulnerable and susceptible to all of these men and predators that are on site here at Nickelodeon. So I think that that is a key factor that you want your children to explore options, right? I even worry about my kids in extracurricular activities because in extracurricular activities, sometimes predators are in those institutions as well. Predators are teachers because that's where kids are, right? They do things to be close to kids. So you do have to watch your kids in all scenarios. And you think, oh, they're safe at school. School's not necessarily safe for kids. You think they're safe in after school activities. Uh After school activities are not necessarily safe for kids. Your kids have to be monitored. And I'm very open with my kids. I tell them, don't go anywhere with anybody. If somebody tells you to do that, you tell me immediately. This is, I have rules, right? I talk to my kids about this stuff, but it's a shame you do have to watch your kids. And when you have multiple children and your kids are interested in being a star, you can't be at the studio 8 hours a day, 4 hours a day. So I'm sure some parents probably dropped their kids off, picked them up when they were done. And this, left room for somebody, unfortunately, to prey on your children. And that is what I don't like. I like to expose those institutions that prey on children. And I think that it's absolutely disgusting. And so I just, watching that documentary, it weighed heavy on my heart. And it just kind of brought me back to when I used to watch Nickelodeon, and I just thought it was completely innocent. And you don't really see what's happening in the background to your favorite stars, to people you like. I used to watch Keenan and Kel, right, on all that. And it's interesting how some of the cast, especially the ones who've already kind of made a name for themselves and who've blown up, they're not really talking about the abuse that happened, or they're not really commenting on anything. And I'm curious as to their reason why they're not getting involved. Um, and I believe that, sometimes people become a part of the culture. So they repeat some patterns and they do the same thing to other people. And so, not accusing them, but I'm also thinking that part of the reason why some stars have not gotten involved is because they know their hands aren't clean. Um, so I'm curious, and what did he say? He something to think about. Said crazy thing is the parents will still support it. Yeah, it's one of the parents that are supporting Dan Snyder. Um, and it was very interesting, and I cannot remember the star, but he is black. And the mother was like, I love Dan Snyder. She had not watched the documentary, according to her. But the fact that that this documentary is exposing the truth about how child stars felt, that they were in a toxic culture and you would go and adamantly support someone who has been known to do very terrible things to kids. It's just interesting how some people think. And you're absolutely right, because I think people also say that about R. Kelly and some of the people that he was in contact with. They felt that the parents were in support of it or supporting it. Um, and I have a theory about that because this is what I feel. Okay. You can't put me in a room with a child and I'm going to hurt them. I don't care whose child it is. I don't care if the child has parents or don't have parents. I don't care if the child is well taken care of or not taken care of at all. If I'm in the presence of a child, I will not hurt anybody's child ever. So I don't think that the excuse is, well, because the parents aren't there, then that gives the predator a reason to do that. If you're a predator, you're a predator. It doesn't matter, right? Like, for people to say that because a kid is more vulnerable and a parent may not have been as involved or as engaged or knew what was happening, that they're somehow to blame. I don't believe in blaming the victim's parents. I don't believe in blaming anybody but the person who engaged in the act or actually. Now, if the parent knew that that was happening and willingly put their child in that situation, yeah, that's the accessory, and I believe in prosecuting to the fullest extent. But if you're telling me because a parent maybe wasn't as like me, I'm a what they call a helicopter parent, so I'm all in your grill. You got my kid, then I need to like you gonna have to answer to me like I know where my kid is, right? And that's not always a foolproof way to avoid your children being in danger, but at least for me, it helps me feel secure, right? But let's say left my daughter, somewhere and maybe I didn't get to her in time, and so some predator, did something that's not my fault. You can't blame the parent. You can't say that because somebody has a sick mind and they decide to hurt a child, that that is somehow the other person's fault. No, because I don't care what child is around me, your child is not gonna be in danger. That like and if you're a person who have no, like, intention of hurting any children, then you will not hurt a child. It doesn't matter how vulnerable that child is. It doesn't matter what support system they have. You will not take advantage of a child just because you can. And so I disagree with that entire notion, but I do understand people's perspective on that. I just disagree completely with that notion. But even if they suspected it, they are wrong for not investigating it. True, true. I think that remember back then in the 90s and even kind of early 2000s, people did not take SA cases seriously, to be honest. And I think it took a long time. And also that the Me Too movement kind of put people in a different perspective when it came to SA cases, because honestly, that it was not a crime that was taken seriously. And a lot of women who went through that, it was devastating for them, and especially children. So I think that even if you suspected something, maybe you didn't think it was something that egregious. The things that Drake Bell went through with that Brian Peck, it was it was very invasive. If you guys read it, um yeah, that man took full advantage of Drake Bell, and it was in the worst way. And I think Drake Bell, and you can watch the documentary, he described the incident where he was sleeping and he woke up to Brian Peck abusing him. And he was 15 years old and in complete shock, right? He didn't know what to do. He didn't know how to address it, and that's what they bank on, right? A kid not really knowing how to handle that situation. And if you want fame, if you wanna be you're not going to necessarily say anything because you don't know how this will affect your career and affect your life. And a lot of those kids were tasked with thinking about that. And that is what I have a huge problem with this whole Nickelodeon thing is the fact that these kids had all that burden on them where they're so busy thinking about their career and not making the big bosses upset because they didn't want to lose their jobs. You know what I mean? And a lot of them had a lot on their shoulders. They were supporting their families. That was some good money to them, back then. So um, it was a tough situation to be in. It's a tough situation. Um, El Nick said, "You're right. A lot of people got away with it, and now you see it coming back to haunt people in the entertainment industry." Not only that, you kind of see how corrupt and how disgusting this entertainment industry is. Like, you really get to see in depth what people go through for fame, what people go through just to have a name. And so it makes you think about the people who are currently famous and what they have went through just to put their names in the spotlight. And I think it's a little bit ridiculous and it's disgusting. And I hope that something else comes of Nickelodeon doing this. I hope that people start to, see how it influences kids overall. And there's a huge change to the things that we put out. Because I've seen a lot of problematic material, and I always tell my kids, like, you can't watch that. That I don't agree with the messages on this particular episode. And so I have to monitor that. Yeah, I would urge everybody to go watch that documentary. Um it listen, I'm sure that after the 4th part come out, because I haven't watched the 4th part yet, but after that comes out, on Hulu, because I know it's out, but I don't have HBO Max, and I don't have whatever the other station is, so I have to wait until Hulu airs it. So when Hulu airs the 4th part, I'm sure I'll have some more to talk about because I think it's gonna get into more depth about some of the abuse that happened. Um, and so, yeah, it makes you look at your childhood and shows and songs differently. That's right. And that's unfortunate because, you know, your childhood is like this innocent place for most people, right? Some people went through a ton of stuff. For me, it was just an innocent time in my life. And I look back at, what I used to think was just a pure entertainment for kids. And now I kind of have to think about how it influenced me and how it affected me in my childhood because there was a lot of things that I saw that I thought was kind of normal, and maybe I normalized it a little too fast because I was a kid, and I didn't understand the implications. So, yeah, this was deep, y'all. This was deep. But I just want y'all to know that every week I'm going to pretty much pick my top 3 hot topics that I feel are some things that I need to delve into, that I need to get further into. And I'm just gonna try to give my take on these hot topics, things that are trending, things that are going on in pop culture. And I hope y'all stick around and just, get my side and my perspective. I think sometimes I'll open up the panel, talk to y'all, see how y'all feel, and get into that. But for the most part, I just want to share my thoughts on these topics, get you guys to see different perspectives of it, and just really open up the conversation a little bit more. So please comment on my video. Let me know what you think about these topics. Please, please, please like this, subscribe to my channel, and I will see you guys next week. Remember, I do post on TikTok, so you can see, other conversations or thoughts that I have about other things that are going on. And if there is a popular topic and I didn't address it in my top 3 on Sunday, I will certainly do a pre-recorded video to share my thoughts. So please, please, please give me ideas or anything. that you would like to hear. And thank you so much for tuning in. I will see you guys next Sunday. And as you, um, as I already said, don't forget to like, subscribe, and I will see you next week.